Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jordan, and those of you that don't know, I post a lot of wellness, spirituality, psychology content on my channel. I personally have been doing like a deep dive into my own inner wounds and my own physical body, like detoxing. I'm just trying to overall become the healthiest version of myself physically and mentally. And so I share my findings with you guys on this channel. So today I want to talk about a subject that it's kind of a difficult subject for me. It's something that I personally struggle with a lot, and it's like the biggest like catalyst I think of a lot of my internal struggles, and that is dealing with family dynamics and that maybe are not super comfortable or maybe that are very challenging. And I know that a lot of people struggle with different relationships in their family, whether it be a sibling, whether it be a parent or maybe both parents, maybe it's a grandparent, maybe they raised you, or pretty much anybody else that's in your immediate family. These relationships can be super difficult. These relationships are the most impactful relationships that we have, I think, in our lifetime, because they really are the relationships that taught us how to be adults and how to operate in the world, is our family. So if you have if you have a challenging relationship and you're struggling with somebody close in your family into your adulthood, or maybe you did when you were a child, it can be a very difficult thing to try to navigate. And so today in this video, I want to talk about my personal experience and then also things that I'm doing to help maybe mend myself with that wound or mend somewhat that relationship with these individuals in my family. I'm going to tell you about my personal experience and then also what I'm doing to kind of work through this stuff within myself and also within that relationship. So I will say that for me, like, as I have gotten older, I've realized how much certain relationships in my family have affected me. And this showed up when I was like maybe a preteen. Like, I would have conflicts with certain people in my family, but I couldn't really put a finger on why that was. I always would just be like, oh, well, I'm super similar to this person, or I'm super different than this person. And that was like the way that I would comprehend what was going on. But now that I've, gotten older, now that I've like taken such a deep dive into psychology, such a deep dive into like shadow work and inner child healing, reparenting myself, like now I'm actually starting to see very clearly what has gone on, and it's been really helpful for me. So I will say in the beginning, like I did so much research. I did all of the stuff as far as like reading books, listening to podcasts, watching YouTube channels, like going to retreats. I did all of that stuff, focused on meditation, all of the things. And all of these things are super, super important because they give you tools and they give you insight about why things are happening or why you're reacting to certain things in your life the way that you are. But really the real work is actually like maneuvering through those relationships. And so I know for me, I went through phases with certain relationships of mine that I like, after I did all of the work, like reading all of the remedies, all of that stuff, I like was then able to recognize where like my actual blind spots were, like what my triggers were, why I was like feeling that way in those relationships, but I didn't really know what to do with that. And then I got to a place where I'm like, oh, well, I'm just going to cut these people off and I'm just not going to like have relationships with them, or I'm going to have like really strict boundaries and just make sure that they don't really have access to me in that way. And then that didn't really feel good either, because I didn't really feel like I was like I felt like it was kind of like a cop out. It was kind of like a way to be like, oh, nope, not dealing with you. And that didn't feel right either. So now like what I'm doing is I'm still meditating. I'm still journaling. I'm still having boundaries. But I also am incorporating like actually noticing when I'm getting triggered with these certain people, and like literally watching my body, watching my thoughts, watching my like feelings internally. Like if I'm around a certain person or certain people in my family, or if I am maybe talking on the phone with somebody, or even if I'm like watching something on YouTube I'm not even around like certain people in my family, I am just taking note of like when something comes up that's like family related and these like core wounds within these relationships, I'm taking note of what I'm getting triggered by and how I'm getting triggered. Like, where am I feeling it in my body? What sensations am I getting? But I'm also like diving deeper and being like, okay, your body feels uncomfortable. You feel angry. You feel sad. Why do you feel angry? Why do you feel sad? Oh, you feel this way because of blank, blank, blank. Okay, cool. What expectations around those feelings do you have? What stories do you have about how these certain relationships are supposed to look, or how these certain people in your life are supposed to behave? Like, a lot of us have expectations and stories around just certain things in our relationships. And whether it be a sibling or a parent or a grandparent, a lot of us have this story of like, well, they're supposed to be my brother, or they're supposed to be my mom or my dad. These are supposed to be my safe haven. These are supposed to be my security. These are supposed to be the adults in my life. And a lot of people feel like they have these stories and expectations of these relationships. And a lot of times they don't even consider that, yes, certain people in our lives, like it would be ideal for certain relationships to look like the way that we see in movies or the way that we see our peers having certain relationships. But ultimately, that's not the case most of the time. And all of us have our own triggers, our own wounds. We have our own programming, our own stuff that's really affected us, which causes us to show up in relationships in certain ways. And so one of the things that I'm doing, as far as like obviously doing the meditation, doing the journaling, taking note of the triggers, setting the boundaries, but I'm also learning how to drop the expectations that I have on my relationships and drop the stories of what I envisioned those relationships to look like. Another thing that I'm doing as well, and another thing I really encourage you guys to look at, is I know me personally, when I started going down my own healing journey, I started diving deep into psychology, I like kind of developed some sort of an ego around like, oh, well, these people or this person is so messed up and like I know better than them and look at all their wounds and all of that stuff. And so yes, I'm going to give myself credit. Yes, I've done a lot of work. I've read a lot of things. I've like gone to a lot of retreat centers. I've done a lot of stuff that most people wouldn't do. So yes, my ego is valid in the sense that like, yeah, I've done a lot of work. However, I have started to really check my own ego and be like, you know what? You are not better than them. Your journey, your story is different than theirs. And maybe this is how their journey and story is supposed to play out. And maybe a part of this is just for you to really learn and understand boundaries and really be able to uphold them. This is not our healing journeys are really not for us to go in and heal everyone else in our lives. And I think, at least for me, I had a huge tendency to be like, oh my God, I found the missing key. I now understand why I've been so like messed up or struggling throughout my life. And now I see why my family messes up and struggles throughout. Like, these were things that I was thinking. And then my ego was obviously kicking in because I'm like, well, let me fix everybody. Let me fix myself. Let me help point the light, shine the light for you and show you where you're like, my ego was kicking in. So that is another thing that I've like had to check myself and be like, look, it's great that you've done a lot of work, but this is your journey. You're choosing to do that. But not everybody is ready to do that. Not everybody is going to do that in this lifetime. And really what we're supposed to be focusing on is understanding that this is our own personal journey. And we are really just here to learn how to navigate our personal journey. We're not here to save other people. We're not here to fix other people. So as soon as we can learn how to drop the expectation of those relationships and drop our ego and stop trying to point out and fix people and, beg them to be different so that your story makes sense in your mind about what your relationship is supposed to be with this person, that's when things start to get a lot, or not, I wouldn't say they get a lot easier, but they get a lot smoother, and you're able to actually learn how to operate in those relationships if you choose to. Now, obviously, this is my own journey. Like, this is my own story with my healing journey. I know all of our relationships look super different. Obviously, if you're dealing with people that are maybe physically or emotionally abusive, like, throw all this stuff out the window. You have a whole other set of work. You have a whole other set of keys that you're designed here to handle. But for me, with certain people in my family, it's like I want to have these people in my family, or I want to have these people in my life, but I'm just trying to figure out how to navigate those relationships so that I feel safe, I feel good, I uphold my boundaries, and also I just let them do whatever they're going to do, and try to learn how to not let it affect me. So this is my own personal journey. I wanted to share this video with you guys because I honestly, even though it's been really difficult, and it's taken time, years, like I'm learning how to navigate with challenging family relationships, and it feels very rewarding for myself to work through some of the stuff that I know is actually like very deep rooted things for me. I think the last thing that I really want to share about this subject is the forgiveness piece. I think with a lot of times when we're struggling with people in our lives, like our family, our close people, our safe haven, supposedly, a lot of times we harbor a lot of like resentment and anger towards these people because we're like, why can't you be this certain way? Why didn't you see this, or why don't you see certain things about yourself, like whatever. We have a lot of like ideas and concepts around these people, which is, the stories and the expectations. But I think something that I'm personally trying to work on right now with dealing with challenging family relationships is learning how to forgive other people and just let them be where they're at, understanding that they have their own like set of wounds, they have their own sets of traumas. Maybe they don't have the ability to really even look at it or see it, and maybe they're not going to have that ability in this lifetime, and just learn to forgive them and just say, hey, that's where you're at. That's totally cool. I may be in this other place, and that's going to require me to set up expectations or set up boundaries and make sure that I feel good and safe in this relationship. But I forgive you. I understand that you're a human being. I understand that I have a story wrapped around that you're supposed to be blank person in my life, but I need to forgive you. And so these are just some of the things that I've worked on, that I'm working on currently with my relationships in my family, with certain relationships that have been challenging throughout the majority of my life. And I wanted to share that with you. So if you guys resonate with this video, if you also are dealing with a family member that is a challenging relationship for you, comment below. I want to know. I know I'm not the only one with this scenario because I talk to a lot of people about this, regardless if they're dealing with a sibling, with a parents, even one of my friends, like their twin, like their literal twin that they shared a womb with, like they struggle with that relationship. So comment below if you resonate with this message, and subscribe to this channel. I do also, along with subscribing to our channel, I do also want to say that I do have a private Facebook community where I share a lot of like my own personal like healing modalities and like things that I'm reading or that I'm watching on YouTube. If you want to join my private Facebook community, it's free. I will link it I think it's linked in our about section of this video, and then I'll link it in the description of this post. So I will see y'all in the next video.